chance. Telling me to dance, taking a chance. Telling me to dance, taking a chance.
Hello, everyone. What good evening. It is such a pleasure to be here again. You know who this is. Maxine, Pearl, Phillips, McCoy, the level-less woman coming your way. Tonight is all about two of my phenomenal guests that we're going to be talking about making transitions. But before we get to that, what does level-less actually mean? What is the whole purpose behind level-less? It's a mindset. It's a shift in your mindset. It's for you to start thinking and removing the levels, and don't get caught up in saying I have to climb a certain level in order to be successful. So level-less means removing levels so that you can succeed on your terms. You define what success is for you. You know your worth. You advocate for yourself, and therefore you are continuing to succeed on your terms. I am so excited to be able to bring to you the life strategies and having some phenomenal guests so that they can talk about the life strategies in which they have encountered. Well, our first guest is Berta and is Alchikar. And we have just a little reel that we're going to play before we bring her up. Was that phenomenal or what? Listen, let's make sure that she is on screen and we can see that beautiful face.
Oh, thank you so much.
Look at that. So while you're listening, Berta, let me just give some few nuggets about you, all right? And that way we're making sure that you're concentrating what you're doing. So I'm going to talk a little bit because we know, listen, traffic is traffic, life is life, and things happen. So we can think we have, we know we have our plans in place, but traffic can take control and you have no control over that. So we make the best of the lemons and we make lemonade out of it. So let me just give you a few details about Berta, and then she's going to give you some more nuggets, some platinum nuggets on how she has transitioned to where she is right now, doing the things that she's doing. All right. So first, special events manager, director at NC Vibes, the founder, organizer at Raleigh International Food Festival and the International Festival. Not only that, how about TEDx? Raleigh curator. Now, Berta, she is all over the place doing so many phenomenal things. And just in a moment, we're going to allow her to give us some more details about her. But before we do that, let's bring on my second guest. We're talking about Paula C. Snyder. We have a reel for Paula as well. Let's play that, Mark.
They tell me you fool, it's just too late. My body's trapped in a joke of fate. My soul's not as old as it sometimes seems. I hear them say trash those silly dreams. One day I could be a rising star. It shouldn't matter how old you are. Living life every dreary day. Must it always go on this way? I see a blast of neon light. There's still a chance to get this right. And it's never all over and you're never done. It's not the end till the game is won.
Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. It's never too late. Did you catch that? It's never too late. Let's bring Paula up. Paula is never too late. I love that beat. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, it is never too late. I actually recorded that song and wrote it at age 55. So
Wow. That is
that one,
awesome.
yeah.
And listen, if you notice what's on her screen, it says vocalist, musician, songwriter. So Paula has so many different abilities and gifts that she's going to be talking about this evening. So why don't we just get started about what this conversation is all about? And it's all about what? Career transitions, life transitions. We're all going through it. And it just didn't happen because of COVID. It happens in life, period. So we're going to start with Beata. Go on, Beata. Tell us just a little bit. Give us one of those life nuggets that you had to put in place early in your career.
Good afternoon and evening, everybody. Thank you so much, Maxine, for all this nice welcome. You're so sweet. I met you one time before, and you're just such a beautiful person inside and out. I hope I get to know you many, many, many more times. And Paula, it's so good to see you. So for me, it's difficult, as you can see. I love what Maxine said, which was you got to go with the flow, right? Things happen, and you just go, okay, I'm not fighting the water. I'm gonna go with traffic because basically I had planned to be on a beautiful computer with my makeup on and talk to you guys with a filter and everything, and now I'm in traffic. But you just got to go with the flow, and in life too, don't fight it. Sometimes God sends you, God, the higher being, whoever you believe in, sends you signals, and just kind of go with the flow. Sometimes doors open up and sometimes doors close, and you try, but then try good enough, and then don't be upset if it doesn't work, because God has something else for you in store.
Excellent.
So
Excellent.
that's my summary.
I love it. I love it. I love it. He has something else in store. So what we're going to do is it's all about safety as well. So we're going to have Beata to make sure that she doesn't have to look at the screen. She's going to be looking at the road.
I'm good. I promise.
Unless
I'm
you
good.
park. If you park, then you
I
can look at the
put
screen. If not, then I prefer that you just keep your face toward the road. And
Yeah, I promise.
that
I'm
way is
good.
safety. Safety is first. But we appreciate
Yes,
you being
ma'am.
here. And so, Miss Paula,
Yes.
with this vocalist and musician, songwriter, tell us what nugget or what golden nugget that you had to put in place. When I know you recorded this never too late at age of 55, but take me back to some of those earlier years and a platinum nugget that you had to put in place in order to help solidify your career, to have it to move forward.
I think the thing that I put in place is I always knew I loved to sing. And although everybody tried to deter me from the things that I liked to do, I stuck with what I like to do. I didn't know what that would mean to me, whether I would become famous. I really never even aspired for fame. It was more about doing the things I love to do and finding a way to enjoy life and earn enough income to take care of what I needed to take care of. And it started there, and little by little opportunities opened themselves to me, and I jumped in and I fell into a lot of it. And it just works when you allow yourself to open to the opportunities.
It's almost like opening yourself up to the universe and paying attention to
Yep.
what you're being shown. I always say you have to hear that voice. And many times that voice is already within you because you were born with those abilities.
Right.
And Paula, I know that you've got a long list of a beautiful history and transitioning from one job to another job to another job. So how were you able to put some of those strategies in place when you saw yourself needing to move from one, like a songwriter, and I think my computer may have just glitched, a songwriter to the musician, to the vocalist? Help us to understand some of the things that we need to be doing as we're transitioning between careers or between jobs or between projects, because it can be something that you can use no matter what you're transitioning between.
Right. As we talk about, life always changes and things are always happening and they're out of our control sometimes. So a lot of times the things that happened that made me have to shift were about life. For instance, when I went off to college, but it wasn't to be a singer. I went off to do something else, and I fell back into the singing, which is something I grew up doing with my family just for fun. But I worked at the bookstore and I just learned a good work ethic. I learned how to get called back again.
Ooh.
So, you get a job for the spring season of the book rush, and then next year you're in college again, and they will call you back because you have a good work ethic. And, so everything I did, I chose to do it that way. That's one thing. Another thing is that as you have to shift, though I probably mourned a little bit the things that I had to do. I became a single mother somewhere around the time. I was performing regularly at that time, and my partner, her father, was working with me, and then he left, and I had to raise a daughter, and she was very little. So I did what I needed to do for her. And music at the time, staying out late at night, and I didn't have the support of babysitters, and it just didn't seem like the right thing to do with the baby in the mix. And so I focused on her. And very funny that she actually brought me back into music when she was 16. So that's a totally different story. But sometimes things will lead you, and instead of saying, this is the hand I've been dealt, and complaining about it, finding out the best way to play that hand. I mean, I love to play cards, so I will make those references to card games. You can get really bad card hands, but you can still get excited about solving that puzzle and like, how am I going to get through this one, right? And so I would say that every time something happened, I'd have a few minutes where I'd have to adjust a little bit, but then I'd say, how am I going to make this work? So the first thing that happened when I had my daughter, and she was a year old, sitting by my side, and I was making phone calls for my mother-in-law's insurance agent, because that was something I could do with the baby there. And I had her sitting next to me with a play phone and a pad of paper. So she kept herself busy. She was really industrious by herself. And I was calling to find out expiration dates on insurance policies for people who had like car insurance and that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And the insurance agent finally asked if I would make some calls for property insurance. And I started thinking about that. Properties, that means like apartments. Maybe if I call an apartment, I will find out how hard it would be to become an apartment manager, and that would give me a place to live. That's not my mother-in-law's house. So I made a list of transferability. I made a list of the things that I was already good at and the things that I anticipated that they would need. And when I called to ask a question, I said, I would like to manage an apartment and I have these skills, and they hired me. So, to be able to recognize what you have and use it in multiple areas, and to be able to ask for what you want. If, especially in this world is really hard because we have all this technology and people are so used to now emailing and doing electronic things, and they don't get face to face, and they're afraid to ask for what they want. And, they're in the mix of 5,000 other interviews or applications. And they're one person. How are they going to get attention from someone? They have to stand out in some way. And it helps to learn how to sell yourself. So that's another one of those nuggets.
Well, listen, I have just written some of those nuggets that you just talked about, because I have to remind my viewing audience, I don't know if you brought paper and pen with you. You need to have it so you can be writing some of these platinum nuggets. I always tell my guests, we don't just give golden nuggets, we give platinum nuggets. We take them to a totally different level, because it's level-less, right? It never ends. And so one of the things you talked about was callback, ensuring that you get called back because of your work ethics. That means you're on time, you're doing the work, you're doing it with quality, you're paying attention, you detailed, all of that, the employer is paying attention to you. So that I love that callback. And then work ethics was a part of it. Then you talked about traceability, understanding your gifts, understanding the abilities that you have, understanding the skill set that you bring into the job. And that way you're keeping an account of what you're doing and how you're doing. So even if they do not give you an evaluation, guess what? You evaluate yourself. So that's another thing when you're talking about doing a transition. And I love what you said. Recognize what you have and what you have not done, and make a list of it. And then that way you have a to-do list that's following you from one day to the next day to the next day. And you get all these things done that you've been asked to do. And then you said, ask for what you want. You're right, Paula. Many times it's the hardest thing for individuals to do is to ask for what they want. But listen, a nugget. If you're going to ask for what you want, you need to have already done the job. You can't just come out and ask for what you want and you're not
necessarily.
Come on.
It's kind of interesting. I started, you asked about how I got from there to here. Before the internet, before cell phones, I was booking myself all over the country as a musician.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Well, you have to have something to show for it. You also have to understand your niche. For instance,
come on.
If there was a disco room, I was not doing disco. I was doing easy listening music. And so you don't want to take the wrong job because that gives you a bad reference, and bad news travels a lot faster than good news. So when you're in the right for what you're capable of at that time, at that time, I knew where I was. I knew my talents. I knew how I compared with others, and I knew my own niche. And that's where I went to get work. And now I do the same thing. I call and ask, but I know what I'm looking for and I know where I fit in to start with. Now, that doesn't mean that there aren't other opportunities, but that gives me a good base of business to work with.
Not only that, Paula, it also gives you an opportunity to have those conversations that can lead to another conversation.
Yep.
So that helps you to also understand where you fit in. I know I heard some people say, get in where you fit in. Well, that's not necessarily true. But what you can do is by asking those questions and also knowing, I love what you just said, knowing what you have and knowing your worth and knowing what you bring into the table. And many times if we cannot think of that off the cuff of in our brain, have it written down.
Yeah. So
when you're speaking with someone, you can always look and refer back to it. I wouldn't just sit there and read it off to them, but right. It's just a reference point. And so I love that. So help us to understand some of the challenges that when you don't plan accordingly and you have not put a strategy in place, what could very well happen or how things could impact and can hold you back.
I think the main problem is potentially overbooking ourselves or setting deadlines that aren't reasonable for what we know we can really do. If someone says, or let's say I have a client and they'll say, can you do this tomorrow? If I say yes, I better be able to do that tomorrow. However, I've learned to set myself a very generous deadline and then over deliver. So I can deliver early because I've given myself enough room to accomplish the task. If we don't, and I've stepped up into a lot of volunteer situations as well as work, you just have to, if you want to maintain your reputation for being a reliable person that does quality work, then you need to know how to manage your time or not overbook. Right. I mean, I will say no to things because I just can't fit anything else. I mean, that's a nice problem to have. But
I was going to say that's a very good problem, nice problem to have.
But you have to understand. I mean, I have a husband, and my mother is elderly, and everybody wants some time for me, and I also love everything I'm doing. So it's kind of a juggling act. But right now, I'm enjoying myself as if I were 18 and I'm 70. So
Woo-wee. Hey, listen, ladies and gentlemen, did you just hear that big 70? You know, they always say women tell their age, they tell everything. And I say that is not true. That is not true. Yeah, we must be proud of our age because I mean, I just lost my daughter-in-law just lost her mother. So we can go at any point. Life is so short. So there's nothing wrong with being proud of the age that you are and to have gotten where you are. Because life, it comes with a lot of struggles, it comes with a lot of challenges, it comes with situations you have to overcome. And whenever you're making a transition, that's exactly what happens. You can find yourself in a challenge situation, and then what plans are you going to put in place? And I always say, what strategy are you going to put in place? Well, Paula, I love the fact that you're giving these stories because many times a story can tell us so many different things and people can relate to those stories. All right. So we're getting ready to bring Beata back. I think she's ready to come back. And like we said, you know, life happens and technology happens. So let's see if we can get her back on the screen with us.
Yeah, I'm here. I can hear you and see you, but my connection is going to go bad in just a little bit. I loved hearing Paula's stories. So for me, for example, I didn't go through the same thing that Paula went through. I more stumbled onto things, kind of figured out what I liked. So I started out as a assistant to a controller, and I was actually I hated accounting. And it was an injection molding company, and I figured out I hated it. I was like, I'm not going to do it. I did it for 7 years, and I learned a lot from it. And then I realized that I'm more of a people person. So to add on to what Paula said, figure out if you're a people person or you're a numbers person. And I think that helps you decide where you want to go with your career. And so after I had my kids, I knew I did not want to go back to accounting because I just didn't like it. I was good at it. I was impatient and I don't have attention to detail. I look at the big picture. Some people love details. They're perfectionists. And thank God we're all different. Otherwise it would be a boring place, right? And
Right.
so figure out what you like and go for it. I liked international things. I figured there was not that many things that are international in Raleigh. I love to throw a big party. So last June we had 30,000 people that came to our festival. So you just got to go with your strengths. Figure out what your strength is and go for it. Don't let anybody stop you. Just don't fight it. Once you know it's difficult. So one of these times I wanted to go to, like during COVID, I wanted to go back to grad school. And I knew grad school was not for me. And I just applied. I was like, let me just see how what happens. And once I got into it, it was just so boring. I hated it because English is not my native language. And so that was not my strength. So I was like, fine, I'll find something that was good. So I took these classes that were so much fun in Harvard. Harvard was offering classes for free online during COVID. It was Harvard. One of them was Berkeley. And I learned so much from that. Without you don't have to take A or B or C. It was just a learning experience for me. And so find what you like and go for it. One of these days you might become a millionaire from what you like. Sometimes you may be a thousandaire from what you like, but at least you're doing something you love. And Maxine, like you said, one day, we have 20 more good years on this earth. Live it up, have fun, do what you love. And what's the worst that can happen? You don't like a career and then you go back. So I did start, just to tell you viewers, I always wanted the flower shop. I love the flower shops. And so this friend of mine always talked about having a flower shop downtown Raleigh. So we opened in 2017. And of course, we started booking weddings and it was so much fun. It was beautiful. And all of a sudden I started realizing how confining it is. So in addition to the events that I was doing this flower shop. It was a cute little flower shop downtown. But then I realized it was very much staying in one place and it was driving me crazy. Luckily, COVID happened and we had to close down anyway. So I was like, fine, I'll just do it online. And so we're doing it online now. So go with the flow, like Maxine said. Go with the flow. Just be open to God's suggestions, to life suggestions, to the universe suggestions. Don't fight it. Just like the grad school. I wanted to go to grad school so bad, But then it turns out taking just fun classes through Harvard and Berkeley, and I passed them in 4 weeks. I was happy. I was like, I don't need NC State or their $30,000, tuition. So I was good.
I love this story that you just told, because one of the things as a career coach, as when I'm working with my teenagers in high school, I take them through that. I help them to understand that college is not for everyone. And
Yes.
so therefore understand what your innate abilities are. I call them innate abilities, God-given abilities, natural abilities, but these are the things that you were born with. And when you understand those strengths, then you can make a conscious decision. Are you going to go for a trade? Are you going to go for the college degree? Are you going to become an entrepreneur? It's up to you. You have options and opportunities out here. And I love what you said, Brietta, that you don't have to confine yourself.
Yeah.
There's no reason for you to confine yourself. You can explore until you land on that sweet spot. And that's a great platinum nugget when it comes to transition. Don't be afraid to explore so that you can have a better understanding of what you're passionate about. And
And
you'll know it. You'll know
yeah,
it because your heart will start singing and you have this big old
and
smile on your face. Go
I love it.
ahead.
And Maxine, one other thing to add to that is, and I cannot stress it enough, build good relationship, genuine relationships. So
Yes.
that's something you cannot fake, right? So for me, for example, I work with all the downtown businesses.
Okay, you're fading in and out a little bit, so
And I
you probably
always want to highlight them with whatever I do, whether it's a festival. If they have an event, I share their event, just like yours and Paula's. I always want to support artists, entrepreneurs, minorities. Share their events, build relationships. Those are important, not because you want something out of it, but
come
because
on now.
it feels good, right?
That's it. That's it. It's not what's in it for me. Is what can I do to help you? That's building a relationship. That's being genuine about what it is. You're showing that you care. And when that time comes and you need them for something, it's not like now you're picking up the phone and calling them only because you need something. No, let's just keep that
Exactly.
relationship going. I mean, I have relationships that's over 40, 50 years old, so it's like not everybody can have those, but don't always have it. What can I get from them? What can I do to help them
Yeah.
move forward? I love that. So, Paula, what are your thoughts on this?
I agree with the building relationships things. And in fact, I would say that's kind of how I set up my business in music when I'm doing performances. When I do parties and singing, I do a lot of singing telegrams. People like that I'm a collaborator to make sure their party works out really well. It's not about just getting hired. It's about really making that moment worth it. So that's something I go for the 5-star references. I mean, if I did a good job, I will get that 5-star reference. And that's a reward for me. There's something else I want to mention that's kind of off. There are times that we are doing jobs that we don't want to do, or things in general that we don't want to do. And there are times that it's kind of hard to change immediately. I'm pretty much a free spirit, but there was a time that I needed a job, and I got a desk job for the state of North Carolina, which I never thought I would do because I'm a free spirit. But first of all, I used the same work ethic. I treated it as if it were my own business, as if I was caring about the bottom line, not just my job. I cared about everybody. I cared about my clients, and I made it work for me. The hardest thing to do is when you're in a situation where you're not sure you want to be, is to still find some joy or reward from it. If you can walk away with one reward in the day and the rest of the day was terrible, at least you have something to say, I really made something matter for somebody else, or or this.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's good. That's good. That's good. Because you will have times in life that you're not going to enjoy every job that you're going to be doing.
or
But
situation.
one of the things that I love doing is training, facilitating, teaching, helping individuals learn. No matter what job I was given, no matter what job opening I applied for and I got the job, if training was not a part of it, guess what? Some kind of way I made sure plain training was a part of it. And so you have room, you have options, you have opportunities, you have times in which you can talk to your manager and they can understand all that comes with you, because they might hire you for a particular position, but the whole person shows up. And
And
they
not
might not
only,
know you have that asset about you.
so it's really funny that when I was doing that desk job, I was the go-to for all the entertaining activities for retirements, birthdays, and they had a talent show, and I was there. So I still had that creativity in me, and I still used it. I also used my creativity to get through any given day. Like, yeah, I hate
Mm.
doing this kind of paperwork, but I'd play games with myself. Okay, I could do 10 of these before I do one of these just to get it done. Even though I hated that aspect of my job. And at the end, I actually was recognized for high customer service in that job. So that was another thing that I didn't expect. Though I left that job to go back to music as soon as I could. And I have doing that full time. I did walk away with that award. And every so often, somebody needs something that was in my realm from that workplace. And I'm able to actually help them, even though I'm not working there. I'm able to help them with that problem because I learned from that. So we learn from
And
everything, we gain from everything.
And there's a learning experience in everything that we do. We just have to be observant enough to understand what is that. Even in mistakes, even in well, sometimes people call them failures. I just call them life experiences, life challenges. Everything is not going to always work in our favor. And when it does not, what's the learning experience from it? What worked, what did not work, and what can we do differently? So there's a learning experience. Well, Beata, I see that you're back, and and we understand that the connection is going to go in and out. So I'm still gonna always. You're welcome to come back when it's working. Okay, just know
Listen,
that we just have to pivot. It's
I'm
called
listening
pivoting.
to both of you, great ladies. Yeah, it's I think what you said, Maxie, is just the most important because overall, yeah, you can. I had a wedding venue. This is how I met Paula a long time ago.
Mhm.
A great fun place to we'd have 5 weddings in one weekend. It was so much fun. However, it was wearing me down. It was like every weekend for 5 years we would have a party. It was so much fun. You want to sustain. It was great, but for your family, for the dynamics of your family, you kind of need to balance that and see what
Right.
works for everyone, in your family. That, and it might be that it's fine, just go do it. But at some point, you need to look at what it is as far as yeah, it's fun. Bartenders have a lot of fun, right? But how far do you want to take that as a bartender? Yeah, you make great money, but do you want to stay a bartender for example? We're not that I love bartenders, so I'm happy with them, but just kind of evaluate where you want to be, and it doesn't have to be on paper. Just think about it and kind of meditate over what you want it at some point in 5 years. Where do you want to be? Do you want to stay in Raleigh? I mean, the world is a big place. It's beautiful. Go travel, go have fun, go figure. You know what, you want to be a bartender, great, go try it in France or go try it in England, or it's just go explore the world, especially the young ones. I lived in France for a little bit before I came here because I was waiting for my visa, and I wished I knew all this stuff then, how to get around. And it was just I didn't have any money at the time, so I didn't know how to get around. But go explore the world. There's nothing to tell you need to stay in Raleigh. Raleigh is beautiful. I love Raleigh, but go travel, go have fun, go do what you love to do, and then what's the worst that can happen? You come back and you live with your parents for a little while, right? So,
That's right. It's not forever. It's I always say career is a lifetime,
exactly.
but life is a project,
Yeah,
which means
if
a
you
project has a beginning date and an end date. And there are so many sub projects that you go through in life, and those are the challenges, those are the experiences, and
yeah,
like you said, those are the you travel, you learn, and then the other beautiful thing about it is that not only do you learn from it, but you can also transfer that knowledge and you can help others to learn from it. And that knowledge can end up being a book. It could end up being a play. It could end up being a song. So there's so many things that you can use when you do this traveling or when you allow yourself to explore. And I love what Paula said earlier is that she had that creative mind. And so she would have this little game that she would play with herself. And I mean, that she would play in order for her to get maybe the thing that she didn't like the most, but she still got it accomplished, and she got it accomplished with quality, and with excellence. So you don't have to give up or dumb down and not do a great job just because it's something you dislike doing. You just find out how you do it. You still do it great, but keep the momentum going and keep the creativity going and be open. Be open to the universe and listen. I ask you right now, are you paying attention? Are you writing these platinum nuggets down? Because these ladies are dropping them. They're dropping gems. And there are gems that you can take back and you can start implementing immediately. So, Paula, I know I could see that thought on your, I could see that. You're thinking. So,
I
what were
am.
you thinking?
That's funny. That's funny. I'm always thinking, and it's hard to. Some people say ADHD or ADD. It's really just all these thoughts going on. One of the things I was thinking, of course, as I get older, or even before. I mean, I've had 3 neck surgeries. My singing could end any day. Right now I'm still able to do it. What will I do to satisfy myself if that happens? We're all going to go through changes. We all grow older. Those of us who get to the privilege of staying around to do that. What can we do? So I've been writing, and if I can't sing, I can still write. And if I can't talk, I can maybe get someone else to do it for me, or maybe I can still type. There's always going to be some thought process. I'm not going to allow myself to just lay down and forget it. I think that as long as I can keep thinking and do things, I'm going to keep doing those things. And that then allows us, as we age, to have a better quality of life and a better health. I've watched my mother, who's 94, still looks amazing. And then she's having a little more trouble walking around these days, but she's still with it, and she's still engaged in community and activities, and she does things that she enjoys. And that is the quality. One day, it won't be about getting a job. It's going to be like, where are you going to live if you can't take care of your house? There are things that come up as you get older that you start thinking about. So just allow yourself to keep thinking and to keep being creative and keep trying things and keep enjoying life. I think the joy is the biggest thing for me. It took me a long time to get to realizing that was what needed to drive me. And I would say for the last 5 or 10 years, that has been the driving force. Whatever it is, I better be enjoying it. So
I love that, Paula. So I'm going to ask the viewing audience. So what's driving you? What's driving you? When was the last time you thought about what brings you joy? What brings you fulfillment? What's your purpose? Yeah, I mean, you can put it in the chat. You can put in a comment if you'd like to share with us. And you can see their email addresses is going across the banner. And you can, email them to us. I mean, Maxine@levelusco.com. You can just let us know, what's driving you. Because let's not just sit back and allow life to pass us by. Let's live. Life is meant to be lived.
Maxine, can I add to that a little bit before I get cut off right here where I'm in the boonies? so one of the things that, when I stayed home with my kids, I did feel like life was going by, even though it wasn't, because somebody has to raise these beautiful kids, right? So
Right.
moms, do stuff a lot. In a way, I felt like everybody was, I could have been making so much more money now, and so I put my career on hold to be with my kids, which is fine. But then I, look at it as a fresh start. That's what was holding. I felt like the kids were holding me back, but they weren't, because now they're all grown and they remember the good times. And so, don't take every opportunity to, once you can live that dream, go for it. Whatever it is,
Mhm.
go apply, go travel, go do your, it costs only $100 to start your own company with the Secretary of State. Just start your own company. The next year is $202 to renew it, to start your LLC. Do it. What's the worst that could happen? You paid $200 and built a website. So, go for it. Don't hold back. And in case I get cut off, but whatever your dream is, I mean, look at the Shark Tanks. I love to watch Shark Tank because it's so motivating, and they always have these dreams, right? Some of them are stupid dreams, but some of them had dreams that actually came true, and they believe so much in themselves.
And it's so critical. Well, Beata is going in and out, but the last point that
And
she
in
was
their
making.
product and in their idea. Same thing with yeah. Am I cutting off?
Yeah, you're coming in and
But
out. So I
TED
was getting
Talks,
ready to talk
I read
about.
three. Oh, okay. But
Okay.
let me just say this, Maxine, before I can hear me. For TED Talks, we hear all these great ideas. They're amazing. And so, I for the viewers, thank you so much for having me. I just want you, don't hold back, like Maxine said. Go live life, to its fullest. Don't regret anything you've tried, because you learn from it.
We're going to mention about the international festival that you have coming up, because we're going to run it across the banner if you'd like to do that. Beata, can you hear me?
Okay. So I have, yeah, I can hear you. Can you guys hear me?
Okay. Uh-huh. Come on.
Hello?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yes, we can
Yeah,
hear
I
you.
can hear you. So yeah, so we have Raleigh's International Wine Festival is coming up on October 22nd. And we have the North Carolina International Festival on November 5 and 6 at the State Fairground. We have TED Talks on November 13th. I would love to see everybody.
All right, all right. So what we have going across the banner is the NC International Festival for that November 5th and 6th date. If you notice, there's an Eventbrite, uh, I guess, link also that you can go to so that you can register for it. And Beata, before you drop off, why don't you give them? We'll put your website up there, and that's where they can go. NC Vibe One. Oh, that's her Gmail account. But we also will put the website up so that they can go and see the rest of the events that you have coming forward. Okay.
Yes, ncvibe.com, and the email, they're more than welcome to reach out to me, okay?
All right. Well, thank you so much for being here.
For having
See
me, and
you
thank you for putting
soon.
up with technology. Bye.
It's called life. We pivot. I appreciate her coming, knowing that things change with traffic and all of that. But see, that shows dedication. It shows commitment. The thing that Paula was talking about earlier is talking about your ethics, your work ethics. And although we know that we don't want to be in a car when we interview, but because she made a commitment, she was willing to still come online and be in person just to show you that the commitment was there. Not only that, look at the wonderful things that she's doing with TED Talk, with the NC International, with the Wine Festival. So I encourage you to go out and support our small business owners. We need you and you need us. So how about that, Paula? What'd you say to that?
Yeah, I agree. I gave a talk about TED Talks at Toastmasters recently, and I have gotten some of my Toastmaster members to buy a group of tickets for a TED Talk. So we're going to go to Berta's TED Talks in November as a group.
Oh, okay.
So we're supporting each other in that way too. And, people who are in Toastmasters, they think about speaking. Some of them think about speaking big, like giving a TED Talk, and others do not. But this is now an experience they can have. So we're bringing that to them. Yeah,
Yes.
I really enjoyed meeting Berta and you. You know, you and I met through circumstances that had to do with speaking. So
Right.
not only am I singing, I'm also speaking, and I'm also very involved in Toastmasters. I volunteer a lot as well
Yeah.
as work. So
But that's using your gifts to help others. It's transferring your knowledge. You talked about that traceability, but it's also transferability as
right.
well. And so it's like, because as we, continue to move forward in life, we have all these skills and abilities and experiences. I mean, once we leave this earth, they're gone
Mhm.
unless we're able to impart them into someone else, then our legacy lives on.
Right.
And so, I mean, that's what I love about building relationships and keeping the networking going and connecting and helping others. That's all a part of my DNA as well. So, Paula, I know that your contact information is going across the screen,
Right.
but you're a songwriter.
Yes.
So we don't want to leave tonight without you having told us a little bit about these songs that you're writing and what's on the horizon for you.
Well, I started writing music about 1971 when I hitchhiked across country by myself. So at first it was all about,
Daring.
yeah, it was all about sharing emotions at the time, just figuring out a way to talk about whatever I was feeling. Okay. But later on, it became a little more generic, and I've written a lot of, there's a story behind every song. But I have been going back to the studio. The song that you heard in the beginning, Never Too Late, was my first album, even though I've been writing and performing these songs all these years. That was the first time I actually recorded a set of songs. So that album, Renewed, and Never Too Late, is from that album. Since then, I've released 2 EPs. One is a holiday related time EP, and the other one is 3 waltzes that have to do with love. And then I've released some singles and a kid's song. Actually, I was playing with my niece one day and we were talking about her dog, and it came into a poem and it became Cookie the Dog, the song. And I also had a friend illustrate that for me. So it's an illustrated song called Meet Cookie the Dog. It has a book and the music and everything with it. I have been writing a lot more, and the last year I've been working with the Women's Club of Raleigh. We were writing a book about COVID, and the club members were sharing their stories. And then the writers in the group started using one-word prompts. One was joy, one was exhale, so I started writing songs that went with those. And I came up with some pretty good songs recently, and because of the way things have been going, I had the money to go into the studio and start recording again. So I'm actually working on 10 songs, 5 of which are, I would say, in the adult genres, pop genres. They're message songs. Some of them are message songs. And then I have 5 little kids songs. Tomorrow morning, I'm Grandma Paula. I'm going to perform at a preschool. So you never know. I mean, I found my niche, and people ask me to do stuff. And if it works in, my dad brought us up with the music and the playfulness, and that's what I bring to that. But I have some really cool songs. One of them is called Prince and Pretty Princess. This is for the little kids. And it has a sound like you're back in the Renaissance period. It's really cool. And one that I was working on today is kind of a coexist song. Like, no matter what differences we have, we're not so far apart. And we should be focused on the peace and what we can do together. Goodwill to everyone, not just the people in our religion or our race or our area of the country or the world. There should be peace. So it's all about coexisting. I also have one that I'm really excited about called Sing Me. And as we get older, we think more about end of life planning than we do about future planning. Like, what am I going to leave behind? So this is more about the joy of which, if I have to leave this world, sing me out, basically. But it's a real up-tempo. It's a real up-tempo, bluesy, jazzy thing. And And it's going to have some choruses in it. I've been working on harmonies, and my producer does some electric guitar for me. And I play piano and guitar, and I sing, and I've done a lot of harmonies on my own material and stuff. So I'm hoping to release those. It takes a while to get all these projects together, because in between performing, speaking, and showing up on programs like this, I have to have time to schedule for the studio. So only 2 or 3 times a month I'm getting to the studio, but it's work, but it's a lot of fun. And it's amazing when it comes together, and all the things that you could do by yourself are so much bigger in the studio. You now have like a whole band behind you, even if it's electronically working that out. Like I might be able to play one part of the instrument or one part of the melody, and then play a different part of the melody and track it separately. So you can make it much bigger than you could do live. And it's just so exciting to do that.
Wow. That is awesome. Because I know when I first, talked to you, you were talking about the vocalist and the musician, and all of a sudden you start talking about all these songs that you were writing.
Yeah.
And it's like, that is awesome to be able to hear. So so I know you said that the one word prompt also a song, from a poem to a song. Are there any other times where you hear the lyrics, of a song?
Yeah, I probably come up with lyrics first. Yesterday I saw a post, and someone was saying, "Where are you from?" And I thought about, well, I know where I'm from originally, Detroit, Michigan, but I've been in all these other places before I landed here. And I couldn't help myself, but I wrote it in a poem. So I wrote where I was and how I got from here to there, all in a little paragraph. So yeah, things like that happen all the time. And so it's really funny. And I never thought I'd be doing singing telegrams, but I'm really well known for singing telegrams. And I will like change all the lyrics of known songs to personalize. And it's really clever activity. Yeah. So, and one time someone called and asked me to come to Fayetteville to do a singing telegram. And I didn't think he'd want to pay me for the travel to do that 15 minutes. And I offered a poem. He wanted to get his wife back. He said they were separated. And he told me his story, and I wrote it into a poem, and he was floored, and they're talking. So I said, no guarantees though. but I do have a knack in putting words into, and to be able to express for other people. I have written songs for people as well, but mostly it's the poetry is the easiest. It comes very easy to me.
Look at that innate ability that you just described. That's something that you were born with. Nobody had to teach that to you.
Yeah,
it just comes naturally. It comes natural for you.
Well, and I was terrible at baseball, so I had to do something.
But that's what we want other people to be able to understand, is that you have things that are natural for you. Exactly. And gravitate, also recognize it and see how you can use it in so many different other ways. Right. Well, you might discover it just in one thing that you're doing, but all of a sudden start looking at, hey, wait a minute, I can incorporate that into this, what I'm doing. I can incorporate it into this, or I can help collaborate and be a part of a collaboration with my gift or my abilities. So there's no right or wrong way. Just be open to the universe and use it.
Exactly. And when I do speaking, I speak about that. I speak about igniting our hidden creative genius. Mm-hmm. To solve these roadblocks or move forward when we're stuck, or just to have that joy, Yes. And I actually have an acronym, BRAVE, which incorporates that belief and the recognizing and all the different things that we're talking about. So.
Yeah, and you talked about aspiration, and you talk about fulfillment. You're talking about, living life to the fullest. I mean, that's what it's meant to be and do, and who you are to become. And I think that's one of the reasons why many times when I'm working with adults, and adults say, do you only want to work with students? And I'm like, well, yes, I do too, because the students need an opportunity to also understand who they are from their core and who they can become, and all the gifts and abilities and talents in which they have that they can use. And they just have not yet discovered them. So I am so thankful to having you here this evening and being able to talk about these wonderful transitions that you're doing. And I heard you to say that the songs, expect them this fall. Is that what you?
It'll probably be it'll be before December. I'm trying to release them all at once because I have to do formal copyrights, and I can do that
All
in
right.
groups instead of individually. In a group, I can pay one
Right.
price, whereas individually I have to pay for each separate copyright. So it's just more productive and financially productive to do them in groups. So I'm going to do the group of kids songs in one batch and the group of
Right.
adult songs in another batch. But you might hear them playing live the next time I perform in public, which is not very frequently. I have a lot of private performances, but I will be at the Western Wake Farmers Market in October. I think it's
Okay.
October 29th. So if you're out and about and you like to enjoy a nice cool morning and check out some good music, I will be there playing live. So,
All right. Now, can they go to your website, Paula, and also see some of the live public? I know they would not be able to see the private ones, but will they be able to see your public ones advertised there as well?
if they look at the event button on my website, it shows that I'm busy, and the ones that are public have links, and the ones that are private just say private performances day time. So it shows my calendar, and in fact, I just added the August studio dates. I've got a lot of them for August, so maybe I'll get more done and do it faster than I hope. I also have a book about staying inspired that I've been working on for a while, and I need to get back to that too. But I do have an excerpt of the introduction of that book that's available for free download.
All right. So what we'll do is after the interview, we'll make sure that the links are on Facebook so that you have access to our website, and you can go there and under events and you can find out what the private events are and then what the public events are, because some of the private events you might be a part of them already and not even realize it.
That's true.
So it's nice to at least to know that. All right, so as we get ready to close, now I'm going to ask you we already have your email address going across the website, and we're going to put across the banner, and we'll put the website out there on Facebook. But what's one final strategy that you would like to leave with our viewing audience when it comes to them transitioning in life, as they transition from one phase to another phase in life?
It's the name of one of my songs, Look for the Joy.
Wow, that's nice. Look for the joy. Now, when was the last time, my viewing audience, have you looked for the joy? That's nice, Paula. I really like that, because that forces individuals to look from within. It's not just on the surface, it's from within. Right. Love it. And one of the things that I always leave my viewing audience with is about believing in yourself, believing in the aspirations that you've been shown, the dreams that you have, the visions that you have written down. And many of us have dreams and aspirations and visions that we wrote down when we were teenagers. And I ask you, when was the last time you revisited those? Talking about finding the joy and looking for the joy. And that's when we were really having joy and fun, because we were free-spirited. And there was nothing holding us back. We had not yet experienced those challenges. So once you start experiencing those challenges, and some people call them failures, I call them challenges, then it start having you to have a totally different mindset. And that brings me back to the level-less. It's about having that level-less mindset. Is a movement, and it's helping individuals to understand when you take those levels, when you stop putting yourself in that box and feel like you must climb and get to a certain level or else you're not successful. You have just told yourself that. It doesn't mean that it's true. It only becomes true when you start acting upon it and you're not doing the things that you need to do in order to move forward. But I sit before you and tell you that as long as you tell yourself you can, and you reach out and you step forward and start doing, things happen. That's when you go through those transitions. That's when you overcome those challenges. And remember, you have individuals who are out here. They've been challenged just like you, but they were able to overcome. Berta talked about ask. And no, Paula, you mentioned ask. Don't be afraid to ask. Don't be afraid to reach out to some of the people you already know and ask them. It's not all about help, but what about asking them a thought-provoking question that you don't necessarily have the answer to, but you might want to bounce something off of someone else. So there's so many people out here who's willing to help us. You have two sitting in front of you that's willing to help. You have Berta who just left. She's willing to help. So don't be afraid to ask for help. That's what this life strategy show is all about, is bringing individuals on so that you can understand the strategies that they have put before themselves, they have acted upon, they have implemented in order to help them to get where they are today. And you can too. So this is Maxine Pearl Phillips McCoy signing off. I'll see you next week at the same time, same place, same station. And remember, I believe in you, and I trust you believe in yourself. Have a great evening.
Telling me to dance, taking a chance. Telling me to dance, taking a chance. Telling me to dance, taking a chance.